Hello YouTube, I'm Amy Arwin, and welcome to the first video of what will hopefully be many about my life, my transition, and trans topics in general. About a week ago, I came out over Facebook, and since then, I've received lots of responses with love and support. I've also received lots of questions. I thought that this would be a wonderful forum to go ahead and address some of those questions that were asked, and maybe some of the ones that haven't been. Most of the information that I'm going to detail here is from my personal experience, but also you can find a lot of it from other resources, such as many of the vlogs that are already on YouTube. I'd like to give a big thank you to the people in the trans community, especially those on YouTube, that have been contributing for quite a while. And I'd like to hopefully introduce myself in a contributory manner to that same community. Before I start, I'd also like to say that I'm going to be reading some of these questions off my computer, so I hope that that doesn't look like I'm not addressing you all. But I do need to read them because I don't have them all memorized. So, let's go ahead and get started. First question. You use both the terms transsexual and transgender to describe yourself. Are these the same thing? If not, what's the difference? Very good question. But first, I think we should brush over a few terms. First, sex. Sex is a biological term, and it's assigned at birth. It's usually determined by chromosomes, or more likely, by the appearance of external genitalia at birth. Gender, however, is a social construct pertaining to appearance, behaviors, and social roles. Gender may mean different things in different cultures. Next we come to gender identity. Gender identity is someone's internal sense of their maleness or femaleness. That brings us to transgender. Transgender is an umbrella term, and a lot of people fall underneath it. It basically just means that somebody's gender identity doesn't match up with their sex. Some of the groups underneath the transgender umbrella are crossdressers, drag kings or drag queens, genderqueer people, intersex people, and transsexuals. Transsexuals are people whose gender identity doesn't match up with their sex from birth, and they usually, but not always, choose to do something about it. Whether that's taking hormones, surgery, or some combination. So, as you can see, these two terms are related, but not the same. Just as a football player can be called an athlete, but not all athletes are football players, a transsexual could be called transgender, but not all transgender people are transsexuals. Next question. Have you always felt like you were a woman trapped in a man's body? How long have you felt like this? Personally, I didn't go around at the age of 5 going, I'm a girl trapped in a boy's body! But I did know I identified with something other than just being a boy. I liked wearing girls' clothes, and I preferred playing with other girls. Once I became an adolescent and realized the boys my age weren't doing those things, I tried really hard to conform with what society thought my identity should be. It wasn't until I was an adult and became mature enough did I really accept who I am. That's not the journey of everyone, and not all transgender people feel like they're trapped inside their bodies. Next, when did you make this choice? Or, when did you make this decision? This question could be construed as offensive. It really depends on what you think is a decision and what you think is a choice. If you think that it's a decision or a choice to be transgender, I can tell you it's not. This is something that is just part of who I am. I did not choose to do it. I did not decide to do it. Nor does anyone. It's just who they are. If, however, you mean, when did I make the decision to go through a transition, that's a different question altogether. I decided not long after accepting that this is who I am. I was talking to a lot of people in the trans community, and some of the people who had transitioned later in life waited a long time to do so and they regretted it. That was all I needed. However, it must be said that for some, transition's not really a decision either. At least, not a real decision. Let's move on. What is the process for transitioning from a boy to a girl? Have you had or do you want surgery? Do you want the surgery? The process is different for everyone, but I can tell you what mine has been. The first thing I did was go to see a counselor. I felt a counselor was going to help me with my identity issues, help me accept who I was, and move me forward in this process. Next, I started electrolysis to start removing some of the unwanted facial hair. After that, I saw an endocrinologist. For those of you who don't know what an endocrinologist is, it's a doctor that specializes in the endocrine system, or the glands that secrete hormones, the hormones themselves, and the diseases that go along with it. That doctor took some blood tests, and then when the results came back and showed that my levels were all normal, she went ahead and prescribed me hormones. She prescribed 2 medications. The first is a little blue pill that's oval. It's called estradiol. This is my estrogen pill. It's 1 milligram, and I take 2 of them a day. She also prescribed spironolactone, which is this white pill. It also comes in brown. And some of my medical friends out there might recognize that as a potassium-sparing diuretic, but it's also an anti-androgen, and that's why I take it. Let's see what else we have. Are you changing your name? If so, how did you pick your new name? Yeah, I'm changing my name, as you can tell by my introduction. I'm Amy Arwen. That's my first and middle name, but I like how they sound together. And I got it by how most of you got your name. My mom. When she was pregnant, my mom never had an ultrasound. And she was determined I was going to be a girl. So she named me as such. Do you want me to start calling you that? I don't know if I can. I might slip up. Yes, please. And thanks for asking. It's okay though if you slip. I slip all the time. I called my sister the other day and introduced myself by my boy name. It happens, and I don't expect anyone to be perfect. So long as you're not doing it on purpose to undermine who I am, I'm not going to be offended by it. Is this why you moved? For those of you who don't know, I recently moved from the South to San Francisco. But it is not why I moved. I moved because I got into school. It did, however, make a big impact on where I decided to apply and which offer I decided to accept. I get this next question a lot. How did you pick who to tell first? Or, sometimes, why didn't you tell me sooner? I love you for who you are. At first, I wasn't really comfortable in telling anyone. I told the girl I was dating at the time. After that, I told my sister. They are both very supportive, and my sister is my biggest advocate. After that, I told a friend who's homosexual just because I felt that he was part of this community and might be able to give me some advice. Then I told my mother and my brother. Well, my brother-in-law, but I consider him my brother. Once I told all of them, I started to tell some of my friends from New York, the place where I grew up. After that, like I said in the introduction, I put out a blast on Facebook. For those of you in North Carolina that I did not talk to earlier, it wasn't because I don't trust you or love you, but because the laws in North Carolina are so limited in the protections of transgender rights that I was afraid to. In North Carolina, a person that comes out as transgender can be fired on the spot for being who they are. Because of this, I didn't talk to anyone from work, or somebody who might know somebody from work, unless they were in my immediate family. Next, does San Francisco have a large trans community? Have you met many trans people? Yes, there are a lot of transgender people in San Francisco. It's a very accepting place for anyone who's in the LGBT community. That being said, I really haven't met many people at all, but I look forward to meeting more people in the trans community. Funny enough, Many people have asked if I've gotten used to wearing high heels yet. No, I have not gotten used to wearing high heels, nor do I ever think I will. Right before I went into the military, I rolled my ankle really badly and almost broke it. It was swollen, and I re-injured it every single day when I was running in basic training. Now, my ankle rolls so easily that I don't think I'll ever be able to wear high heels without breaking my neck. A lot of people want to know if anyone's giving me any problems after coming out. So far, nobody's given me any problems. Everybody's been really loving and very, very supportive. I've really appreciated all the comments I've gotten on the internet and the phone calls and messages I've received. If anyone has a problem with who I am, they're keeping their mouth shut, and I really appreciate that too. The last question is usually the first one I get. Is it okay to ask you questions? I don't want to pry. Yes, it's very okay to ask me questions. I've decided to be very honest and open with my life, and so long as it doesn't involve the private life of someone else, I'm very likely to give you a full answer. So go ahead, ask anything you want. Well, I think that's all for now. But, as I said, I plan to make more videos in the future. Please feel free to comment or message me directly. And to all of those who have already offered me so much support, thank you very much. I love you all. Bye-bye.